Hello, welcome to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Education Research Center here at Murray State University, and welcome back to 10 at 10. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Sprocket, West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and welcome back to episode 274. It is an even number episode, so we are taking a look at the news of the last few weeks, days and weeks, and seeing what is there that we can learn to help ourselves, our families, our organizations stay a little bit safer in cyberspace. Cyberspace, easy for me to say. So with that, let's dig into it. First article I want to talk about. It's really just intended to make a point of something that we've talked about several times. AI firm has confirmed that they had a breach as hackers claim that they stole 4 terabyte of data. So that's a lot of data, clearly. I would guess that most of you listening to this don't have a 4 terabyte drive. I think mine is 1. Maybe it's not even 1 terabyte, but 4 is a lot. So my point with that is that this is a lot of data that was stolen from an AI firm. Now, this firm is a little different than the way that it works. It is a not a chat GPT, but it is an AI firm. But my point with this is you have to realize that if you're trusting these AI firms, then you're trusting them with your data. So whoever they trust, you have to trust, whether you want to or not. That's the way that it is. And they were supposedly hit with a supply chain attack. So something that we've talked about over time. So I say that to be careful. Watch where you're putting your data. We're going to come back to this in a minute, but watch where you're putting that data. Watch who you're trusting. You've got to be very careful because not only is this data from an AI firm, this data is the hackers claim to have stolen 4 terabyte of sensitive data and internal system data. That's a significant thing. Second article, not so much an article, it's an advisory. It's a PDF advisory. The link is in the show notes. I want you to take a look at this. This is an advisory that came out this week from CISA, from the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, the organization that is responsible for helping the federal government and critical infrastructure areas to be secure. Issued an advisory this week. Iranian-affiliated cyber hackers exploit programmable logic controllers across U.S. critical infrastructure. So what's critical infrastructure? That includes power grid. That includes water. That includes manufacturing, chemical, government facilities. There's a lot of different things that are included when we talk about PLCs at critical infrastructure areas. My point with this is that first, if you have a PLC, if you're operating critical infrastructure, be on alert. Be on alert. This is something that is happening. As this conflict with Iran continues and escalates, this is going to become a bigger and bigger issue. You've heard me talk about it several times. Critical infrastructure, let me actually back that up. Programmable logic controllers, when they were first designed a few decades ago, they were not designed with cybersecurity in mind. It's been retrofitted, it's been added, but some of these PLCs have been placed for a long time. So if we're not taking additional steps, then yes, our systems can be exploited. So we have to be careful. We need to remove those PLCs from the internet so that they can't be directly available. We need to monitor our logs. There's a lot of things that we can do to help secure these systems. We got to take some steps. A lot of these steps are spelled out in this advisory, and I would strongly encourage you to take a look at it. If you have PLCs, frankly, if you have PLCs, whether you're critical infrastructure or not, I would recommend that you take a look at this. All right, let me keep going. I got a lot I want to get through today. The National League of Cities, NLC, represents all of the cities across the country. So each state has a league of cities. In Kentucky, it's called KLC. There's also an NLC, a National League of Cities, and they put out an article on the end of March talking about some of the lessons from 2025 and emerging cyber threats, in particular, as it talks about AI. And one of the things that this article talks about is something that you should be very careful of, because we see it all the time, is that personal accounts should not be used with AI tools like ChatGPT. Let me say that differently. Personal accounts, when using tools like ChatGPT, should be considered unsafe for sensitive data. If we're putting sensitive city, community, it applies to counties, it applies to any sensitive data, really. If we're putting sensitive data into tools like ChatGPT with a personal account, it should be considered unsafe. Period. That to me is the biggest takeaway, and it's really, really important. The other things that it talks about in here is, for example, open records request or public records request applies to AI tools as well. So, what you're using with AI and GPT type of tools, you should be transparent with. You should make sure that what we're doing is very transparent and that everybody can see, and that you're transparent with your customers, or in this case, the citizens of your community, with what you're doing. So anyway, keep that in mind, because I think that's a very important thing. And then an oldie but a goodie. This article comes from Bleeping Computer. We've talked about before, everybody has received the phishing email or the text alert that you have a traffic violation. Here lately across Kentucky, it is that you missed a court date. You got to come pay a fine at the courthouse, and actually people are showing up to pay fines that they don't actually owe. Usually they want you to pay online so that you'll pay the bad guys, but people are showing up to the courthouse to pay fees that they don't owe. In this case, they're transitioning to phishing QR codes. So not only are they asking, here's a text message that shows that you have a fine that you have to pay. Here's a QR code that you can scan to pay it. It's just a modification of the same thing. And what I would say is, don't respond to any of those texts. They're all scams, whether it's asking you to click a link and enter stuff, or you scan a QR code and enter stuff. They're all scams. Don't do it. Just delete it. Just delete it. And then the last article is a healthcare related article, but I want to talk about it in the context of all of our sectors. There's a new article that came out talking about resilience that gives healthcare leaders a data-driven roadmap of how to reduce cyber risk. And in particular, it talks about the security controls that deliver the highest ROI when implemented for healthcare organizations. And so in this instance, there were a handful of things that they talked about. Role-based access control, RBAC, is what that acronym is, and you hear about that a lot in cybersecurity. But what the key is in this is, a nurse, for example, doesn't need to have access to the accounting system. In no situation should a doctor also be the one managing billing. That separating those duties will help reduce the impact if one of those accounts got breached. Another one that they talked about that has a big impact is requiring dual authorization on wire transfers. A popular attack nowadays is business email compromise, where an account gets compromised and the bad guy uses that account to email a known partner or employee and asking them to change something, like perhaps changing the routing information on a system. And so then when you transfer money, you're transferring it to the bad guy, not to the person that should be getting it. There's so many of those. Take a look at this. Multi-factor authentication's one. Anti-fraud training is another they talk about. Some of these things are very basic, but what is also very clear is that we're forgetting to do the basic things. These are in here because we're not doing it. So if we take the time, do the basic things, we're going to become more secure. So anyway, I'm out of time, over time. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you for your time, for joining in, and I'll see you next week back here on 10 at 10. Thank you.